Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kaylina and this is the Magic Society, and today I want to participate in the hashtag occult tea that is going around, started by a lot of the other witchy YouTube people. And I know I'm a new channel, but there's still a couple things on here that I would love to discuss and I definitely have an opinion on, so let's get right into it. So we have a list of questions here, and I'm kind of just going to go through them and kind of give my opinion on some of them. And I've been enjoying listening to some of the other YouTubers as well, other content creators, talk about these topics, because some of them, well, all of them, are just, they're important. And I feel like there's definitely things to be aware of, and it's nice to see people being able to have conversations about this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna join in on the fun. So the first topic is all about the impact on like your community. And so question number 1 was my personal reasoning, inspiration behind sharing my practice online. And honestly, I mean, I've been pretty honest up front in a lot of my videos that I'm still fairly new to all this. I mean, I've been doing witchcraft for about 7 years now. Part of that time not really even realizing I was doing witchcraft. Didn't even realize, I mean, yes, I've watched movies and stuff with witchcraft in them, but I never truly realized that that was like actually a thing that you could practice, like that it was an actual tangible practice. Which is always, which was so cool when I did finally figure that out, because I was like, I'm one of those people that literally wants to live in a fantasy world, you know, like I do not always love living in reality. In fact, I have to really work on having one foot in reality and one in some other realm and out of my body. Like I feel very out of my body a lot, which I have been told by another medium type person that although I am an earth sign and like a water sign, my head is kind of in the clouds a lot. And I 100% agree with that. Like I love to be in the other realm. Like reality to me is just sometimes lacking and a little bit boring a lot. So I love magic. I love witchcraft. It suits me so well, like so well. And no, I've not been on YouTube forever and a day. I've only been posting for about a year, and everything I've seen, it takes at least 3 to really kind of start getting a rhythm, getting followers and stuff. And honestly, I'm not even, YouTube is just, it's something that so many people are, you know, getting on the bandwagon on, and me included. Like, but I'm not, it's not my everything, you know. Like some people truly rely on YouTube to make money. I don't make jack squat right now, and honestly that's okay. Like I'm doing it because first of all, I love to be creative. I want to start having a presence on YouTube. When I was in high school, I really wanted to go into like the movie industry and like screenwriting and stuff like that. But the reality of my situation, that just, I mean, if you really want something, nothing is impossible. But there was just circumstances that didn't really allow for that. But I've always been a writer. I've been creative writing since like middle school. So writing has always been a part of me, and that creative aspect has always been a part of me. And so that's kind of why I'm on here. Just, and even more so than like truly sharing a lot of my practice, although I definitely like to do that when I do things that I think would be relevant or anything that someone would actually maybe want to watch. But also, I really want to turn my channel into reaching audiences in regards to getting other people onto my channel, collaborating with them, talking with them, finding true, real, authentic people, just cool people that are just being themselves, and interview them and share their experiences and get to know them as a person. Because I'm telling you, the thing that bothers me the most right now is the world just has become very fake, like very sheltered, very fake. People have guards up. You don't get to truly know anybody anymore. Like, it's this very surface level interaction with everybody you meet. And it drives me crazy because I want to know you as a person, as a real life person. I don't want to know the shield that you put on YouTube, you know? Like, I want to see the dirty, messy bits. I'm not afraid of that, you know? Like, I want to see the real human that people are. And yeah, sometimes you get hurt by that. And trust me, I've been a person throughout my years that definitely had a wall up. But once you got to know me, you got to know the real me, you know? And I just feel like so much of that, everybody is just wearing mask after mask after mask. I have to be this way. I have to look a certain way. I have to do this certain thing. And it's like, but is that making you happy? Is that truly who you are? Because I truly feel like you're going to make the most difference in the world when you are doing something you're truly passionate about, and that's something that you truly care about. And you just don't see it anymore. You see people trying. Some people are trying and they're doing a great job, and they're finally getting to a good spot where they're just becoming themselves. And it's beautiful. Oh my God, I love it. I love when you see people being authentically themselves and they just don't give two shits if somebody likes it or not. Like, that's what we need more of in this world, instead of just trying to conform to a square when we're supposed to be a star and a heart and these amazing other shapes that don't fit into a square peg. And so that's kind of why I want to be on here, is because I want to share real people with the world. I want to show people that there are still amazing, wonderful, creative, awesome people out there, and that you can be a part of that kind of community. You know, you can find a place where you belong, and as well as, you know, you can learn so much from other people. Like, I'm always in a state of learning, I feel like, and that's amazing, you know? Like, there's always something new I'm learning from somebody, and that's what I want to bring to the table. And I know I'm small right now. I know it's not there yet. Like, I know that. It's not there yet. But one day it's going to be. And that's what I want to bring to the table. Real, authentic, sharing content with real people. That's what I want. So, yeah, I want to learn. I want to connect. I want other people who have been doing this longer to come on and help share their experiences and educate others, you know? I'm not the most experted person out there. I mean, I watch a ton of stuff, I read tons of stuff, but that doesn't make me an expert at anything. Like, it doesn't. And so, no, I'm not, me personally, I'm not, as of right now, on here to educate people. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna share books that I read, and I'm gonna maybe share some of that knowledge. But what I really want to do is, when I do read a book, I want to reach out to the author and get an in-depth, like, interview with the author. Like, that's what I want to start doing, because you're gonna learn so much more from the person who poured their heart into something than me just simply reviewing a book and maybe sharing some of the stuff that I learned. Yeah, you can get something out of that. And, you know, I always have opinions on the books that I read, so I'm sharing my own viewpoint as well. But to actually be able to have, like, a tangible interview with somebody who has spent so much time and effort on a project, I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. So ultimately, that's where I would like my channel to head, is a more positive journalism aspect. Because let's face it, you turn on the news, there's nothing but bad news all the time, and it's depressing and disheartening. And then YouTube is such a complicated process, because there's so many good things about it, but then there's some things that are just really frustrating about it as well. But it is a spot where you actually can learn things from people and more positive experiences than just turning on the TV and seeing, oh look, another school got shot at today, you know, oh, more political corruptors are out in the world today, and blah, 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 blah. And all these things are just so overwhelming and honestly hurts my heart. So I want to be a positive spot. I want to have positive human interactions, and it's gonna happen out of sheer determination. It's gonna happen. And I've already started kind of, you know, with the books that I've been reading, reaching out an email to see if I can talk to some of these authors. And we'll see. I'm manifesting good things, but I'm also not putting any expectations on it, because obviously these people are busy with their lives and I'm a small channel. And so, but the other part of it is everyone's got to start somewhere, you know, everyone's got to begin at the beginning. You know, you don't just jump in and have 1 million followers, or you don't just jump in and have these high known people on your channel, you know, like it takes time and patience and effort, and I'm willing to do all those steps to get there. So that's why I'm on here, honestly, truly. How do I believe social media as a whole has impacted the community? See, back to the fact that social media, it's such a double-edged sword, because on one side you have so many good things about it, so many good things, and then on the other side it can be just as damaging. With a flip of a coin, it can go in the reverse. I think social media has brought so many new opportunities for people. I feel like it's really allowed people to, if they want to start their own YouTube channel and bring something to the table, bring something that is theirs to the table, they can. You know, it's a whole new level of entertainment too, you know, as well as education and community. You know, like you have a whole group of like-minded people when you follow, you know, the witchy YouTubers. You know, like you have kind of a community, even if you don't directly know them, and even if you haven't met them in person, you still have that comfort in knowing that there are people out there like you, and there are people out there that think kind of similarly. And that is what I love about the witchy community, is that most of the time the people that are directly in the community, very open-minded, you know, like very willing to question their beliefs, and they're like, well, no, maybe there is something more out there than what I think, you know, like we're very much like, we want to learn spiritually, you know. And I find that this group of people is very what's the word I'm looking for? Accepting. They're very accepting of every walk of life, of every person, and that is so refreshing in a world that just wants to judge, you know? Like, to get back to those rooted, like I've heard other people say, and like I've said before, being curious is amazing. You can be curious about somebody and their practice or the way they think about certain things, but judgment is when it becomes a problem, because curiosity means that you're open-minded, you're listening to them, actually listening to the person. And that's also something that people just don't do anymore. We just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then we think we're listening to them, but we're not. We're hearing what they're saying, but we're not actually listening to what they're saying. And so within the witch community, I love that. I love the fact that most of the time you get very open-minded people, and it's so beautiful because spiritually speaking, there is a reason we all come from different walks of life, right? Like, we're not all meant to be the same, and we can learn so much from each other. And throughout history, I just feel like, I mean, humans are flawed. Let's face it, we're all flawed. We all do stupid shit sometimes, but we've just lost opportunities along the way to really engage and interact with people. And so social media is great for that. You get a community, you get an opportunity to be yourself and to bring something new to the table. It makes just accessibility so much easier, especially to content and information. Now, obviously, with that comes some misinformation at times, but there's just so much more that you can get your hands on. On the flip side, yeah, there's misinformation that gets spread. There are those internet trolls that people just love, who just are literally on there to cause problems and to put people down and to argue, and they're shielded behind a screen. And so yeah, that's the disappointing side of it. There's also, I think later on, the question of like comparing yourself to others. And I mean, I'm gonna get real and honest with that subject too. But yeah, it's so good, and it can be so bad at the same time. Like, there's just, but that's anything in life, right? We have a light side and a dark side, and pretty much everything is a shade of gray to some extent. So, how do I think social platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube have each impacted education, sharing information? Okay, well, honestly, I'm going to have very similar opinions to the other witchy people. I've listened to a couple of them, and I 100% agree with them. TikTok, no. And honestly, I can't even talk that much about TikTok. It's just the things I've heard from everybody else around me, because I have no interest of being on TikTok, never have been. Honestly, I don't even love social media. Like, as a whole, there are things that I like about it, but there are a lot of things that I don't like about it, as I mentioned previously. TikTok, I've heard really nothing but kind of bad things about TikTok, so I've had no interest on getting on it whatsoever. And honestly, I think eventually it's gonna die out, to be perfectly frank. Instagram used to be so good. Like, it used to be so good, and now I feel like there's a lot of glitches in the system itself, as well as Instagram, it's photo driven, obviously, and people want their photos to look good. So, part of it you have to take with a grain of salt, because life is not always an Instagram photo. It's just not. Like, people are busy, and sometimes we're messy, and we don't always look good, and we don't always have our shit together. Like, it's just life. That's just life, and Instagram makes it very hard to separate reality from the photo shoot, and it kind of can make people feel like, oh, I'm not doing this well enough because my life doesn't look like this, or what am I doing wrong because they seem to have this perfect everything and I'm struggling, so, but I do love Instagram for pictures and content. Like, I do love looking at pictures and not comparing myself to other pictures and stuff, and honestly, for me personally, Instagram is kind of my new scrapbook in some ways, and it's almost more, I treat it as like a journal to myself. And whether or not I have tons of followers or not, I really don't give two shits. I really don't. I don't care. If you come across my page and you like my photos or whatever, that's great. Awesome. I'm flattered. Thank you for that. But I am not looking every day and like, how many followers do I have? Oh no, I lost one. Especially since the algorithm with Instagram seems to be so jacked up anymore. Like, I swear most people don't even see what I post because I just feel like it's not going out how it should. And I've talked to a lot of other people who have Instagram and who are much bigger accounts than me, and they're like, yeah, I've kind of stayed at the same subscribers for a long time, and I don't get nearly as many likes anymore because I swear people just scroll. We don't actually like the photo anymore. So Instagram, you can't build your self-esteem and your worth off of social media. You just can't. Otherwise, you will always be failing. You will always be failing because someone else will always be doing it better. And that's just not a healthy way to live. So yeah, Instagram I like more for myself because I use it as, like I said, a scrapbook so that I can document my own personal life or pictures that I enjoy so that I can come back to them later and see them. But I'm not paying attention. I am not paying attention to subscribers because otherwise I would be depressed. So, and YouTube, of course, YouTube I feel like is a lot of people's go-to. It's obviously my go-to, or at least I want it to become more of my go-to just because you can do so much more with it. Like, you can do long videos, you can share pretty much whatever you want, generally speaking. And there's just a lot more reach, I feel like, that you can do with YouTube. I mean, YouTube has really become kind of a big deal. And it's really, it's cool because it's made normal people be able to kind of have a career that's celebrity-like in nature. You know, you see some of these channels with just these people from anywhere, and they can create content and they can create things that people want to watch, and it's almost like how you see a change in the movie community where people are doing more movies on like Netflix and like streaming platforms versus the big Hollywood theaters. Like, you just see this change. And so I almost feel like YouTube is the step, down from that. But you actually get some of these YouTubers who are big deals. Like, they are big deals. And that's amazing and awesome. And it just shows that with hard work and dedication and content that people want to watch, you can make it big. And it's really nice to see, honestly, because like, who doesn't want to be successful with something that they're passionate with, Like, and it's just gonna drive you to do better and to work harder and to just actually put care into what you do. I mean, how many people do you know that have a job that they work 9 to 5 and they just hate life? They just literally hate life, and it's just draining the life out of them. I know a lot of people. That do that. And don't we just all wish we could have something that brought us joy? This is kind of deranging off some of these topics, but I do feel passionate about some of these topics, and I'm really just proud of the creators that came up with these questions because they're worth talking about. Is consuming witchcraft content becoming a substitute for practice? Like I said, I have not been doing this for as long as some people, but I do probably feel like, because even I get into this rut here and there where it's like, I get very inspired by watching other people. I do. It allows me to be more creative in my practice. It allows me to maybe see different forms that maybe I wouldn't have thought of. And so I feel like ebbs and flows, at least in my practice personally. There's times where I just feel like I'm consuming a lot of content, like I'm just watching a lot of stuff, or I'm reading a lot of stuff. And then there's other times where I'm putting it more into practice of like, oh, okay, I really love this idea from this, and then I already do this from this, but these two things would work really well together, so I'm gonna put them together in a spell and pretty much see what happens, Like, I'm not gonna lie, my practice, and I feel like this, I mean, I can't speak for every witchcraft person, but it does seem like and maybe this is just me, but growing up, I came from a Christian background. Like, witchcraft was not even in the picture. Like, not at all. Not even, like, spirituality in the way that spirituality is kind of seen as, you know? Like, it was Christian. And it wasn't necessarily hardcore Christian. We weren't going to church every single Sunday. I did go to high school at Catholic school, which that is great if that is your thing. Like, honestly, I'm so glad you found your niche and that works so well for you. Being Catholic would never work for me. It wouldn't work for me. And I very much believe in a God. I very much believe in you know, in an afterlife and all that kind of stuff. But I've never lost that. But I feel like there's so much more than just what one religion can offer you. And so I'm very open-minded now, more spiritually. Where was I going with this? But, yes, okay, I remember. As somebody who got into witchcraft later in life, like, I do find that it's kind of hard on YouTube, and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, to find people that have maybe started a little bit later. Because a lot of these people you talk to, they're like, oh yeah, I've been practicing for 14, 20, 50 years. And I'm like, that's absolutely amazing, and I will learn a shit ton from you. But on the other hand, it's a little bit harder to be like, I mean, those people are so far along in their practice, it wouldn't make sense for them to go backwards to try to dumb is not the right word, but to kind of ease their practice up to make it more understandable for people that are just learning, you know, like, they're way advanced. They want to be doing advanced things. And so when you are just kind of in between that realm of, well, I'm not a beginner, but I'm not necessarily advanced either, and I'm somewhere in between, it's maybe sometimes hard to connect with them as far as like, so how was this when you were still kind of in that in-between area? And you just get the answer kind of a lot that, oh, I've been doing it for so long, you know, you just kind of do it, which in some instances, yes, that is the case. Like, you just practice. The things that you've learned and the things that you've read, you just kind of go for it and see what works for you. And certain things are going to speak to you very prominently. Like, certain herbs, certain crystals are going to speak to you more. Certain practices are just gonna, it just feels right. Like, you just know when something fits with your soul and being, that it just fits right. And you get this like feeling as you're doing it, like this unexplainable feeling of like knowing that it's gonna work, like just feeling good about it. And then you just kind of let it do its thing. And the advice that I've heard from people of, don't go in with like certain expectations, it's so smart. Because when I first started out, I was like, I have to really concentrate and have to do this like, so I have to like literally set the expectation of that this and this and this and this are gonna happen. And that's just not how the universe works. It's not. It's, the universe is just kind of like, okay, tell me what you want, be specific enough that, you know, you don't ask for something and then something kind of bad happens, but it gets you there, but it's not the way that you want to get there. So it's this give and take. You want to be specific enough, but you don't want to be like, it absolutely has to go step by step by step by step, and this is exactly how it has to go, because the universe just doesn't work like that. At least from my experience and everything I've learned from everyone else, it just doesn't. So, but I hear my door over there. I'm telling you the side story. Yesterday, of course, it's been windy and I've had my windows open because I actually don't have air conditioning right now, which is super great because it's been the hottest days the last couple of days. And of course, the wind's been really heavy, but the way my door sits, the wind would be pushing against it and not like from behind it, and it like literally slammed shut the other day. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Either something's getting my attention, or it could very possibly just be the wind. But anywho, but yeah, as far as the substituting practices, for me personally, it's ebbs and flows. I go through major times of wanting to just practice and do things like right along, and other times where I'm just more reading and consuming and learning and seeing what would fit well with my practice and what wouldn't. So that's my personal opinion on that. I'm also trying to get a little bit better in my practice, because most of the time I just kind of like, whenever I kind of feel like I want to do something, that's when I do it, and I don't really plan a whole lot. Like I'm just like, oh, okay, I had this stuff with me, this stuff would work well for this kind of spell work, and we're just gonna sit down one night and, you know, do something. What I want to do because I have a very deep love for astrology. Like I really do find like how like amazingly weird it is how, and I know some people who may watch this would just be like, you're absolutely insane, okay? Planets don't affect your everyday life. And yes and no. I feel like everything has energy, so the energies of the way things are interacting with each other is going to have some kind of impact. Now, whether you let that completely control your life or not, that's a whole other thing. But I have found, obviously, we just went through Mercury retrograde, we're still in it, and then the solar eclipse. You talk to anybody, even if they didn't even have any idea what solar eclipse stuff was, or astrology, or anything, everybody I talked to agreed that there was just this weird energy in the air, and that they couldn't explain it, and that there was just kind of this chaos, unsettling energy, and everybody was feeling it. Everybody I talked to, even people that had no idea about it, they're like, yeah, things are just kind of weird right now, and I don't know why. I'm like, I know why. And then you tell them, and they're like, some of them clearly think that you're absolutely insane, and then other people are like, you know, that's weird that you say that. I mean, maybe. So I definitely believe in that kind of stuff, and I'm wanting to get more in tune with the astrology of things, and really planning out my spells to match with certain times of when planets are going through certain zodiac signs, because it affects, you know, the possibility of it being even stronger, because you're just naturally going with the energy of the moment. And so I know a lot of other people do that already, but I want to really get into that. And I think I want to make some videos kind of about more of the astrology stuff, because I feel like astrology is so complex. It's so complex, and you either get the people out there that just kind of skim the surface of it, which, to make it understandable, you kind of get why people do that, or you have the people that really understand it super, super well, and they're very detailed and very complex with it, but it's too hard to understand. So I feel like if we could find the in-between space and like break it down and really explain it in a really good way, I feel like a lot more people would probably align themselves with what's going on in astrology, because I really do find that it makes a big impact. So yeah, I still have a lot to learn with astrology. I do. I've read several books on it, but my brain does not think that way. Like my brain is complicated. It doesn't, I love science, but my brain does not always like compute the information the way I wish it would. And so it takes me a lot longer to understand this stuff. And I know there's a lot of people that are in the same boat, but in my own practice, as far as actually practicing goes, that's what I really want to start implementing. Sorry, that was long. That was a long explanation. All right, topic 2, influencer authenticity. Out of what I share on social media, how much of it is staged versus reality? Honestly, guys, you pretty much get the fresh out of the oven what you see is what you get kind of thing. And I really do mean that. Like, I mean, obviously, I don't share every spell work that I do, you know, like, but I think that's very common in pretty much everyone's practice. You're not gonna sit there and film every stinking spell. Like, you just can't do that. First of all, your energy is distracted. Second of all, there may be spirits that you're working with that don't want to be on camera, and they're specifically like, hey, what we have, there's a circle of trust. And if you share me with the world, you're stepping outside of the circle of trust, and we're no longer having an interaction together. Like, there's that aspect. There's some spell work that you just, it's yours, you know, like it's a piece of you. And while yes, I want to be authentic and real with people, and I mean, I film all these videos like one take. If I mess up, okay, I messed up. I'm human. I'm gonna do it. If I sit here for a couple minutes with the wheels turning, you're gonna see every minute of it. I really don't sugarcoat things, you know? Like, why would I? You know, yes, I want things to look nice. I want things to look authentically pleasing, and I want to do my best to continue to learn how to have good lighting, how to have good, you know, vocals. I just ordered some microphones that I'm going to start using. You know, I'm debating about whether to get a new laptop so that I can get better editing equipment, because as of right now, I'm that girl who still uses iMovie. Like, sad, but true. And I have Adobe Premiere, but I don't know how to use it super well. And honestly, I kind of want to look into Camtasia. I don't know if anyone has used Camtasia or if anyone knows it, but that's kind of the one I'm looking at, because I'm just hoping it's kind of an in-between of Adobe Premiere and then iMovie. Obviously, iMovie is super simple. There's hardly anything that you can really do with it. I wish they would advance it, because I know the program, but if we just made it a little fancier, that would be nice. So I've been debating about doing that. So yes, I want things to look good, you know, like, do they look as good as some other people? Probably not. Can I do all the bells and whistles as some other people can do? No, not yet. Not yet. But I still, you know, I'm still learning, and I feel like when you're starting a YouTube channel, you're learning a lot, and you're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna see those mistakes, and I'm gonna be honest with them up front. For instance, learned fairly recently that about the AI books. And when I first started making videos, I actually talked about an AI book. Didn't know it at the time, know it now, and I know what to look out for, and I've obviously grown a lot since the start. But yeah, people make mistakes, and I feel like that really feeds into the imposter syndrome, because when you know, I want to be out there. I want to be out there. I don't want to be giving misinformation though. But when you do kind of mess up, you're like, oh my God, should I even be doing this? Like, should I even be on here? Honestly, like, maybe I started too soon, you know? But why wait forever, you know? Like, if you're educated enough and you have passion about talking about something, go for it. You know, you're gonna make mistakes. Just own up to them. Own up to them. I advertised an AI book. Not good. Don't recommend. Don't want you reading AI books. Didn't even realize that was a thing at the time. So you learn things quickly as you go along, and then you fix the mistakes and you move on. You take the content down, or you go in there and you correct it and you move on with your life. That's kind of how I see it. But no, I really do want to be authentic and real. And I'm kind of a weird human being. Like, every video I'm probably going to look a little different. Some days I want to go all out, almost as if I'm, you know, a character from a book. And which doesn't mean that I'm being a different person. I'm not being like a different character. I'm not being unreal with you. It's just, like I said, I live with half my body in a fantasy realm. So if I could dress up in, you know, 1800s clothing or Renaissance costumes every day, I would do it. I'm that person that could literally live my life in a LARP situation. So I just feel like part of my soul is from another time, and that's just is what it is. So I go through different vibes, you know, I go through different styles, and you never know what you're gonna get with me. So, but I want to be real. I want to be authentic, you know. If you're gonna see the kind of vibe I'm having for the day, like we're not gonna go out of our way to fake stuff. Like I'm just not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Do I think there is an element of censorship in online spaces? Yeah, I mean, you hear all the time that, you know, oh, I have to, and you see it a lot on YouTube, where creators have gotten creative about how they word things, especially if you're wanting to add a little bit of spice or a little bit of humor, a little bit of dirty humor in some cases. Like there's one channel in particular that I can think of where they do a very good job spinning the words so that you obviously as a human being know what they're talking about and know what they mean, but the censorship won't necessarily pick up on it. So you notice that, or at least I've noticed that. And then obviously certain topics that people would love to talk about and get more deep into just because it is a big part of the witchcraft community, but you're not really allowed to talk about it, or if you do, you have to be very careful on how you present it because the internet is, you know, not very always accepting of certain practices and certain ways of doing things. So yeah, there's censorship there. I mean, I feel like over time, I'm hoping it'll just get better and better and better. And I feel like a certain amount of censorship is good. You know, there's some stuff that I just feel like is maybe not appropriate to put out there, you know, like super violent stuff, or, you know, like there's just, but as far as like the witchcraft community, I feel like it should all be talked about. It's part of a practice. It's not as bad as what society makes some things out to be, you know? Like you even say sex and say the word and it's like, oh no, shut it down, cancel it. It's like, oh my God, guys, this is why our country is just becoming such prudes. Like, oh my God, relax. It's a human body, you know? Like, and I guess that's the massage therapist in me coming out. It's a body, you know? Like, just because it's there or someone's flaunting maybe a little more than what the average person may be comfortable with does not, it doesn't need to be such this taboo subject, you know? Like, it's a human body, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're attracted to every, you know, everything that you see all the time. Like, it's just weird. And I mean, when I was younger, I used to be pretty, like, prudish in a way, and I've come a really long way with that. And now I'm just like, who cares? Who gives two fucks? I don't care. If you want to pole dance on the screen, do it, girl. Shake what God gave you, you know? Like, if you want to have this sensual, sexual side to you, which I think is just, like, people, you lose a part of yourself if you don't let that in some, you know? If you don't let that out, if you don't share some of that. We are sensual beings. Like, it's part of what makes us us. And so it's like, why are you shielding all of that? Why are we not talking about some of this stuff? You're just shoving part of you down, and it's only going to hurt you in the long run. So yes, there is censorship, at least on certain topics, especially regarding the sex aspect. How do I decipher what is appropriate to share online versus what to keep privately? Is this based on social media etiquette or a personal preference? honestly, I'm not big enough to really care right now, so my answer would maybe change if I ever got like big, but still I hope it wouldn't, because I kind of want to share whatever I want. You know, that's part of the reason why we have freedom of speech, is that we do have the opportunity to share things that maybe others are uncomfortable with. And I'm sorry, it's not, this is going to sound super rude, but it's not my problem if you have a problem with me. You know, just avoid me then. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All you have to do is be like, well, I don't like her content, I'm not watching her. Great, cool, I don't care. I don't mind, I understand. If I'm not your cup of tea, that's fine. I'd rather have you be honest with me up front and just be like, hey, I'm not gonna watch it, than, you know, send a snarky comment back that is so totally unnecessary just because you have a different viewpoint than me. So that's kind of where I stand on that. So I'm not just gonna not share something just because it's maybe gonna turn some heads, or maybe it's stirring the pot a little bit. You know what? The world needs to have the pot stirred, okay? We have become so eggshell, tiptoeing on the eggshells. We don't want to make anybody mad anymore. We don't want to upset anybody. And it's like, do you know how freaking exhausting that is? Like, we're all different, like I said. So we are not going to all get along all the time. I mean, we should all be able to respect each other. We can be like, hey, yeah, that's a viewpoint I don't agree with. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. We'll just call it a day. It should be that simple, but it's not. It's not, because humans are sometimes a little ridiculous. So, yeah, as far as etiquette goes, I feel like you should be able to share what you want, honestly. And if someone has a problem with it, they can just block you. Easy, right? Like, to me, that makes sense, but maybe I'm wrong. And honestly, I mean, I don't really put anything out there that would be like super appalling to anybody anyway. Just because in my personal practice, I mean, sure, maybe some blood magic. Okay. I mean, that's probably about as controversial as it'll get. I mean, as far as like sex magic and stuff, the thing is, like, I feel like with sex magic, it's such a personal thing. Like, so I wouldn't really be sharing that content anyway, just because it's a very intimate thing with whoever you're sharing it with, or if you're dedicating it to a deity or something, or, you know, some spirit of some sort. That's a very personal interconnection. So that's maybe not, we're not in the back in the old days where everyone congregated around to watch the couple, you know, consecrate their marriage. You know, we're not in that time period, and so I feel like that's personally just personal. But whatever. Have I ever encountered or heard of grifters in our community? So that word means scammer, I guess. Yeah, of course. Every darn day you're on social media, you've got someone saying, oh, the stars are in alignment. I can tell you what you're supposed to do in your future. Or, oh, do you need a tarot card reading? I could provide that for you. Or, oh, I have a family member that you've never heard of reaching out from the other side. Let me tell you about them. And it only costs, you know, $1,000 per month. Like, bullshit. Bullshit. Like, don't fall for any of that. Do not fall for it. It's a scam, and it makes me mad. It makes me mad when people do that. Like, oh, it just frustrates me, because I'm just like, no, it's a bunch of bullshit. So yes, they're, especially on social media, they're all over the place. And even some of the people you interact with, like, there's some people that I've interacted with who you just know they want everybody to think they're way higher up, way more spiritual than everybody else. And some of the stuff they say sometimes, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take all that with a bit of salt with it, because, you know, like, you can just tell that they just they want everyone to think that they're on a pedestal above everybody. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, everybody has their own spiritual connection. How they interact with spirit may be different, you know. But to sit there and try to, like, kind of scam people on how much of experience, like, they over dramatize the experiences. And I'm like, and I mean, for some people, their experiences may be very profound and very deep. As a whole, for me, I mean, there's been a couple moments that have stood out, but other than that, it's pretty subtle. So it's like, no, I'm not. And I mean, I like to share my experiences. They're exciting. I mean, who doesn't like to have, like, a spirit experience and be like, oh my god, that was so cool. Like, has anyone else related to this? Has anyone else had something kind of similar happen? It's more about connection, not about bragging like, oh, I'm so spiritual and, you know, I'm having this private conversation with God. It's like, okay, well, good for you. Good for you. I'm glad you have that BFF standard with him, but I don't know. So I definitely, there's people out there that'll just take advantage of the situation, and it's unfortunate. It really is. It's unfortunate. What tools are helpful to decipher misinformation, and how can we as a community prevent widespread information? Yeah, I mean, there's going to be misinformation out there. I'm sure I've said misinformation before, and, you know, and that's partly just learning, and I guess back to the other question of internet etiquette, I feel like I've learned some lessons about internet etiquette, just because when you are new and when you're first posting videos, you're just excited to be learning stuff. You're just excited to be putting stuff out there, and you're just excited to maybe get to interact with some people of like-minded, and you hope maybe that they make comments and stuff so that we can engage in a conversation. But what I've heard from other practitioners is the whole idea of just because you read one book doesn't mean you're an expert on the subject, which I 100% agree on. 100% agree on. Like, and I don't feel like I've ever, like, sat here and claimed to be a professional or anything. I feel like I say it repeatedly that I'm not. I just share, you know, if I read a book on a subject, I'm going to share some of the information that was in it, but I make it very, very clear that the information is coming from that book and that author, and, you know, then talk about how I feel about it personally. But, like, I get what some of them are saying as far as misinformation goes, because, like, for instance, when I was talking about that one AI book, like, that was obviously, I mean, the information there might not have been incorrect, but the fact that it was an AI book probably means that it pretty much does mean it's grabbing from a bunch of different sources from the internet or other authors, and it throws it into one book and shoves it out to the world. And that's maybe not the right way to get information. You know, that's not the correct way to get information. And so a learning curve there, you know, like, just making sure, and hopefully that I'm not coming across acting like I know everything on these subjects, because I don't. But yeah, you just get nervous about that, because I don't want to be the YouTube channel that everyone's like, oh, well, behind closed doors, you know, oh, don't watch her because she's giving fake information and that kind of stuff. And that's just my own paranoia. Like, because I do want to give real information. Obviously, I want to give real information out. Like, that's what I want to do, and that's what I hope eventually my channel will be, is talking to real people and getting real information out to people so that we can educate and become just wiser and better as a community. And so, yeah, there's misinformation probably all the time that gets spread out by people, you know, either intentionally or a lot of the times accidentally as well. But just being aware of it, and yeah, looking into a person, looking into an author. Are they well regarded amongst the community? Are they known? Or, you know, like, you just ask questions, you know, be curious, do the research, And usually misinformation can be pretty obvious. Like, you see the same kind of things over and over and over again, where you would think the scammers would catch on, but they don't. So, how does a large following impact the perception of the creator? I mean, I'm not a large creator, so I really can't like speak to that very much. You know, like I'm very, very small because I'm just starting out. So I can imagine some people think that if you're a large creator, it means that you have, like, you've been doing it for a long time and that you have like tons of information on a subject. But I've seen it before on other channels where, yeah, they have a huge following, but they'll be the first to admit that they don't understand the topic in which they are talking about, like, completely. You know, they may understand a certain aspect of it as far as entertainment goes, but let's say more of the spiritual side of it and more of that kind of understanding of like terminology and stuff like that, they maybe don't know. So, and generally, I feel like generally people are upfront about that, but yeah, just because you have tons of followers, it could be just because you're entertaining to watch. You know, you could be funny, you could be, your way of filming is more movie cinematic than just, you know, a normal kind of YouTube thing. So there's many reasons as to why someone watches a channel. It's not necessarily, and if they have that much popularity, it's not always because they're the know-all of the subject. So yeah, similarly, does it make them an expert if they have a large following? No, it doesn't. How does one maintain the balance of authenticity and content creation? Honestly, like I said, I'm too small of a channel to really give two fucks right now. Like, I know there's a whole algorithm, and to be quite frank and quite honest, I know nothing about the algorithm, nothing at all. I have not done a single bit of research about the algorithm. I know it's there. I know there's certain content that does better than other stuff. I'm just gonna post what I want. If it eventually gets seen, great. If it doesn't, fine. I have another job. I'm a massage therapist, which also aligns with my being and who I am as, you know, like a healer kind of. So I'm okay. Yes, it would be absolutely freaking amazing and cool to eventually get a really good following and to actually be making a positive impact and have people want to learn and watch my stuff. And I'm thankful for the followers I do already have. Like, that's amazing. But I'm gonna post what I want. I'm so done not being who I am. I went through 6 years of marriage, you know, not being who I was, and learning from high school and college and realizing that I was never really truly who I was meant to be. Like, there's just always influence, not on purpose, but there's always influence that you sometimes take in from other people. Oh, you should do this. You should be this person. This is what you should be doing. And I was that person that just listened, you know? Like, I was never necessarily one to be like, set a foot down and be like, no, this is not what I want. This is what I want, or this is who I want to be, or this is what I am. Like, and yeah, it's taken me a really long time to get to that point, and now I'm just like, I don't give two shits if you like me or not, okay? I mean, I want to get along with you. I want to have friends. I want to be a person that people actually want to be around. I mean, who doesn't want that? But I'm not going to conform myself to fit in with a group of people. I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's too tiring. It's exhausting. I just want to be me. And whatever that looks like, I just want to be me. So no, I'm not I'm not going to conform again to something else just to get some extra followers. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. So topic 3 is covering kind of imposter syndrome and FOMO. When I follow other creators in the community space, does it make me feel genuinely inspired and empowered, or does it create feelings of FOMO and being less than? Okay. This goes both ways. And I feel like if people are being honest with themselves, they'll admit this. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. It depends on the day. It depends on the day. If I'm having a low day, you bet everything I see, I'm like, why can't I be this good? Why can't I do it like this? Why can't I be as successful as them? Why can't I look like them? Why can't I be as skinny as them? Like, all these things go through your head, especially if you're just having an insecure day, which, let's face it, everyone has those every once in a while. It's a natural human thing. Like, I've gone through a phase in my life where I didn't realize how insecure I was about the way I looked, the way I felt about myself, the way I compared myself to others for a really long time. And I still work with that. It still happens. Okay, welcome back. Sorry, my camera died and now it's later. So I'm gonna finish up these questions just really fast. We're on experiencing like vulnerability, seeing other content creators out there, and I was honest saying that yes, sometimes depending on the day, you know, you're not jealous of other content creators, you're just like, you admire them and you're like, yeah, I wish certain aspects of myself could, you know, look like that, you know. And it's not always like feeling bad about yourself. It's sometimes just thinking, oh wow, I really admire how they do that. I want to learn how to get better at blah, you know. Like, it's not always a comparison thing, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that I haven't, you know, compared myself to others before, because I feel like everybody does it here and there. So now as far as the next question, like whether it makes me feel like I need to get like certain items, or I need to, you know, have certain things to fit in, I don't really feel that way. I kind of, you know, if I like something, especially books are my weakness. I absolutely love to read and I love to get books. And so if I hear somebody talking about a really awesome book, then yeah, maybe I'll be like, yeah, I kind of want to join in on the fun, just because I want to know what all the excitement is about. But otherwise, no, to be honest, I'm too poor to be able to keep up with all the consumerism that happens in the world today. Like, I will never be an influencer of stuff, just because you don't know people's budget. You don't know the world that they live in. And just to be an influencer, just to convince people to buy things, I'm not really on board for that. You know, down the road, if there was a sponsor that I felt passionate about, then maybe, but otherwise I don't want to encourage people to buy a bunch of stuff, especially stuff that they probably could live without and be perfectly happy. So when practicing my craft, do I find myself comparing what I do, what I've been seeing people do online? No, not really. No, I feel like if I'm working specifically like with the seasons, or if I'm working specifically with like the different Sabbats, which sometimes I'll do just depending on how I'm feeling, then yeah, obviously stuff are gonna be kind of similar, because, you know, there's maybe certain elements that you work with during a certain season, or there's maybe, you know, certain things that are attributed to a Sabbat. And so, yeah, you'll see similarities throughout, but I definitely don't want to be doing the exact same spells as everybody else, because what works for one person may not work as well for another person. I mean, yes, maybe a certain herb, say rosemary, is great for protection all the way around, but maybe some people prefer to use mugwort, or some people prefer to use sage, or maybe some people prefer to use nettle, you know? Like, it all depends on what speaks to you. And so just because one herb is used for one thing doesn't mean that everybody is using it all the time for that specific reason. So I try not to do that, because if it doesn't speak to me, then it's not gonna work. In what ways do I combat imposter syndrome? Honestly, I still feel like I'm in imposter syndrome just because my channel is so new, and when you are kind of more of a solitary witch and you don't really have a lot of people in your life that you can bounce ideas off of, you kind of, in one lane you feel kind of crazy, like, are these things legit? Am I actually experiencing this? Like, especially when it comes to spirit stuff. Like, it's obviously out of this realm, right? Like, it's not something that we're so used to, you know? It's not just your everyday walking down the street. I mean, it might be for some people. For mediums, for sure, they're used to seeing it. They're used to engaging it with it in their lives. But for instance, at work, literally yesterday, went into work, and I've never had like stuff move on me. Literally in the middle of the massage, the cabinet doors fly open like aggressively on their own, and all the towels spill to the floor. And I tell you what, my heart was beating so fast. And it's usually because that's not usually how I encounter spirit. Usually it's pretty subtle, like it's, you know, like I see flashes in the corner of my eyes. I see color flashing around sometimes. You know, I'll see a shadow every once in a while. But these are all things that you can be like, okay, yeah, I know that's spirit, but it doesn't like throw you off, or that stuff doesn't make me nervous. But for some reason, when those doors flew open, the towels fell onto the floor, and then I felt like this rush of like cold air, and then my heart was beating so fast, like panicking fast. But it wasn't even because I mean, yeah, it threw me off, but this was like a different kind of, like, my heart was literally just racing. And it shouldn't have scared me that bad, because I do work with spirit, and you know, I have house spirits, and I've had candles crash to the floor, and you know, like, and I hear them sometimes. I feel like either walking around up in the attic or whatnot, and that stuff doesn't really bother me. But whatever energy that spirit had, it was intense. It was intense. It was like scared feeling. And for just cabinets coming open, I shouldn't have felt like that. But anyway, imposter syndrome. Like I said, when you're a solitary witch, and you know, obviously you watch people on YouTube, you read, and so then that's kind of where you get your information from. But it would still be nice to have even deeper of a community in like person for me to be able to bounce ideas off of. And I have a couple people at work that I talk to that kind of get into that with me. But you know, when you're at work, there's only so much of that you're actually doing. So yeah. So yes, sometimes I feel like that happens, where I just feel like, is this legit? Like, is this how everybody like feels about these certain topics, or how certain things happen? Because otherwise I'm like, am I just making up shit in my mind and like turning it into like reality? Is that what I'm doing here? Because it makes you feel a little crazy sometimes. Well, and actually a really cool thing was, which shows me I'm not crazy, is the last time I worked with my money bowl. So I'm like, okay, I need to start working with that more on Thursdays. Like, just simple money bowl stuff, nothing like super complicated or anything. So I threw some cinnamon, threw some patchouli into my money bowl, added some more money into it from a tip that I had gotten and then just meditated with it or manifested with it, whatever you want to call it, and charged my snake earrings and then wore them the next day. And I literally got a $40 cash tip that day. So I'm like, these things are real. They're real. And I believe them. I truly believe them. But it's when it still, for some reason, always surprises me when it works. Does that make sense? Like, I know it's going to work, but it still somehow always surprises me when it does. Just because the concept of manifesting is also not something that you grow up with, unless you're in a family that practices this from day one when you're born. Then you kind of are born into it, and that's so nice. Like, I wish I had that. But, and I mean, in some ways, yes, prayer is the same way, but I feel like prayer is different. Prayer is not the same as manifesting, because prayer is like, oh, well, I've got to 100% give it to somebody else and hope that it works out. But with manifesting, you're using your own power too. And that's what I love about witchcraft too, is that it's not just, like, we're not helpless. We're not powerless in witchcraft versus some other religions where it's like, well, the power only comes from the higher up. And that's not true. We are given power. We are given the strength for manifestation and to bring things into our life through the thought process and having it trickle down from the, from the cosmos or whatever you want to call it. But there's a different word for that I wanted to use, ether or something more like that. But so yeah. All right, moving on. Sorry, I get on these side tangents, and this is why my videos are way longer than they ever should be for someone starting out. What would my practice look like without the social media influence of other creators? Well, for me, it probably wouldn't have been as, like, I wouldn't have learned so many things quicker, Like, it would have taken me more time to kind of figure things out on my own. It would have, obviously, reading a book versus watching a YouTube video. There's a very different timeline for that, and obviously reading is great. Reading is wonderful. But yeah, I like to watch content too, because it's just interesting to, in person on a screen, watch have them talk about their interactions with things and how they, I don't know, there's a bit more of like a human connection. Even though you're not talking to them directly, there's a bit more of a connection there. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, because I have a whole library of books that a lot of them I've read, and then tons of them that I just keep collecting. I'm like, this sounds so interesting, I'm going to get to this one day. And so, I mean, I feel like social media has helped kickstart my practice even faster than it would if I was just reading or if I was just trying to kind of learn things on my own. Topic 4, capitalizing off community. Do I consider online communities as equally valid to in-person communities? I've never been able to participate in a human community, I act like I'm talking to aliens. Sorry. Ugh, it must be early in the morning. No, in-person communities. Sorry. I've never gotten to really participate in an in-person community as far as witchcraft goes. Obviously in the summertime in Kansas City, there's lots of fairs and lots of markets and stuff that I absolutely love going to. So yes, I like getting out into the community, and sometimes these fairs and stuff obviously are for more like witchy people, and so that's really nice. So I do enjoy connecting people in that way, but it's still just like a fair setting, so it's not like I'm getting together with a coven, and it's not like we're practicing magic. I can ask questions to them, obviously, but I also find, not very often, but I do find that there are some people in the community that have hopped on the witchcraft bandwagon and know that these things sell, but not necessarily have any knowledge about it. And that's always a little bit frustrating to run into, because it's like, okay, if you're selling all these things, then you need to have knowledge of it. You know, you need to have some idea of why people use these items versus, I mean, I've had plenty of people, you walk into the shop and you're like, hey, I'm wanting to do this. Do you have any recommendations for me? Because yes, you know, you can look it up and everything, but it's sometimes just nice to have a conversation to see what other people like to do too. And they'll be like, oh, sorry, I just sell the stuff. I don't really know anything about it. I'm like, cool, cool. You are completely unhelpful. Thanks for that. I mean, I don't find that very often, but I have run into it. And so I can't really say one or the other. I mean, I feel like if you can have an in-person reaction and you're comfortable with that, because I mean, let's face it, some of us, a lot of us, are introverts. Like, going out and communing with a bunch of people can sometimes be scary, and it can drive our anxiety. And I've heard time and time again witchcraft people who are like, yeah, we have personalities on camera. We have great personalities on camera, but you get us in person and we are the most awkward human beings like on the planet. And I kind of fall in the middle, to be like, I like to be open, and I like to communicate with people, and I like to meet new people, especially people that are just cool, you know, that are, like I said, just being themselves, and who are in that witchy niche, and who enjoy deep conversations. Like, I will talk to you for hours if you're that kind of person. And even if you're not, that's fine too. I want to be open and friendly to people. But I also have an autoimmune disease, and so sometimes that wins over going out. Because sometimes I'm just like, yeah, it would be fun, but oh gosh, the comfy couch and popcorn and a movie just sounds so much better. Like, my brain is very tug-of-war with itself. Do I want to go out and experience this like market or this event? Or do I want to stay in and not do anything productive at all? So it just depends on which angel and demon wins for the day. But yeah, I would probably say if you can do in person, that's gonna be, they're just two different experiences, honestly. I can't really necessarily say one's better than the other. They're just different. And whatever your preference is, I say do that. How have online occult witchcraft communities impacted me as a person and a practitioner? I mean, I've already kind of answered that. Like I said, it's just made my practice advance a lot faster. It also makes me feel good knowing that there are a lot of like-minded people out there, even if I haven't necessarily found them in person in my community. I have actually found that it is not, I don't know, Kansas City is maybe not necessarily the super hub for witchcraft. And I know that there are groups out there, but I don't know. They're a little bit harder to find. What are some of the dangers of the current phenomenon of capitalizing off the witchcraft community? I mean, I understand everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to, you know, have success and have a piece of the pie and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not a practitioner, like, stay in your own lane, you know? Like, let the actual practitioners run these businesses and sell their product, because you know it's going to come from a passionate heart. You know that the effort is going to be put on it and put into it, and the energy is going to be there, and it's going to be authentic. And there's a lot of businesses that are just like, yeah, I want to take advantage of this because, you know, witchcraft is emerging again, and I know we have a paying audience and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, but that's just not right. You're just taking advantage of a situation, and you're not actually part of the community. You couldn't even tell me what rosemary is used for, you know, like, and that's kind of a problem for me personally, just because if you are new to the witchcraft community, like, I'm sure you want to promote actual witch witchy businesses, you know? And when you have these big companies that are just selling merchandise without a care in the world, it's just frustrating, because sometimes you can get entangled with that just because you want to be a part of that world, you know? But always buy small business if you can. That is my big recommendation. I highly recommend buying from small businesses, because that's where I want my money to go to anyway, because you know what? The big capitalism, they've got plenty of fucking money. They don't need any more. And quite frankly, I'm tired of them just, they don't care about us as a person. They just want to see the bottom line. And I have a problem with that. Have I personally been attracted by this, or have I witnessed someone else be attracted? In my personal life, I am trying to become more of like a minimalist in my life, just because I find all this stuff in the world just doesn't make me happy, and it makes me feel honestly a little bit overwhelmed at times, just having too much just crap, stuff that is meaningless to me. You know, in the moment I may have been like, yeah, I really love this, I really want this, but now I'm trying to not do so much capitalism. I'm trying to find businesses that are niche-y and that are meaningful and are morally correct, I guess you could say. And yeah, just because I don't need all the crap. I just don't need all the stuff. And some people love to have all this stuff. And I'm not saying that's wrong at all. You be you. You bring whatever makes you happy into your space and use it for witchcraft and whatever. Like, for me personally, I just want to go down the road of a little bit more minimalism. It just declutters my life and makes me feel better. And I still wish I could declutter even a little bit more than when I moved. Obviously, I did a big cleanup of my space, but I could do more. So no, I'm not really attracted to that quite as much anymore. Should there be paywalled communities and online courses? Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, if you're educated of 15, 20 plus years doing witchcraft, and just like anything else, it's a service. If you're wanting to provide a service for somebody, then yeah, they should have to pay for it. I'm sorry, not everything in the witchy world is free. It's just, it's not. That's, we're not, you know, the elector, like, was it Bernie Sanders, I think, who wanted everything to just be free everything, free college, free everything. Sorry, that's not the world we live in. And you know what? I bet a lot of these practitioners would love to just share their knowledge, and obviously that's what we do on YouTube, you know. Some of us don't get paid to share content, you know. Some of us hopefully get big enough that we do get some kind of compensation for it, but us smaller guys, I mean, we've got to earn our way up to the top, but we're not seeing any investment from this. We're spending all this time and effort and passion pouring into these videos, and we don't see anything. So, you know, we deserve to get paid for what we're good at. You know, that's just the world we live in. If the world wasn't so money driven, then you would probably see a lot more people being a little bit more open and lax to just giving out information for free. But that is not the world we live in. We have to pay bills. So sorry, if you want some of the content, you gotta pay for it. Like, that's just how, you know, economy works. How does one ensure the authenticity of courses, workshops, memberships, etc. as financial investment? I would just say be very careful. You know, like, make sure that they're a known person, make sure that they have good reviews, make sure that it doesn't feel scammy in nature, as like this repeated payment and you're not getting much out of it. Like, just watch out for that kind of stuff, and don't fall into like a cult situation where, you know, you're finding your true flame or whatever the fuck that was. just don't fall into those kinds of things. Just be careful, you know? There are going to be honest people and there are dishonest people, and you'll learn fairly quickly which is which. So just before you sign up for something, do the research and make sure that it's legit, and look for certain jargon as far as, oh, you know, I can 100% cure this, or I can 100% take this out of your life, or, you know, for or these commercials I see more and more lately, even not even in the witchy community, but like for supplements and stuff. All these people just swearing by something so profusely that, you know, oh my God, you have to buy this, and, you know, in 1 week you'll see all this huge difference, and all these like very exuberant claims that, you know, nobody can make for sure. So that's what I would look out for too. And then finally, just a couple conclusion questions as far as like, what are some topics of conversation you'd like to see more of in our community? What are my community needs? Where would I like to be held and supported? Where do I feel like I'm not truly being seen by the community? How can we help each other in removing the exterior peer pressure and grow in the community? How can we as a community come together with more constructive criticism without it seeming shady or passive aggressive? How can we as a community do better when we do receive criticism and feedback? Who are some community members that I look up to that are reliable resources and aspirations? So, I keep saying honestly, I feel like I've said that about 1,200 times in this one video, but I would like to see, like the YouTube platform itself opening up to more different ideas, you know, that aren't screening so much for like sex magic and blood magic and like these, what are considered taboo topics, being able to be talked about more, because those are almost advanced level things that witchcraft people would like to learn more about. We'd like to talk more about it to each other, to newer witches, not new witches, because that might be a little advanced, but to that middle range group that maybe doesn't necessarily know how to start it, but would like to start learning about it. And I just feel like those topics don't get touched because they can't, because otherwise you'll go down to the bottom of the totem pole and never be seen again. So, and yeah, I just wish there could be more opportunity for freedom for the witchcraft community to be able to engage in certain conversations. I would like to continue to see more diversity as well. I feel like we've got some channels out there that have really great diversity. Obviously, I always want to see more of that, just because to me that's a part of why I love witchcraft so much, is because of the diversity. Because there are so many different people from all different walks of life, and they're all under the umbrella of witchcraft, but there's so much that falls underneath it, and there's so much that you can learn from everybody. And so I just want to continue to see, you know, things that we don't see all the time, different cultures that we aren't super familiar with, you know, like that's what I want to see. As far as constructive criticism goes, I mean, just a basic human principle, there's a right way and a wrong way to handle something, and you can have your opinion all day long, but if it is unhealthy for someone else, or putting them mentally down, or just straight up rude, get the fuck out of here. You know, like, this is, you know, the online community should be a safe place to share opinions, share viewpoints, share practices without feeling like you're gonna get this long, you know, thing on being morally wrong and that we're going to hell and all this kind of stuff. Because if that's where we're going, it's going to be one hell of a party, because we're all going to be there together and we're all crazy, wonderful, awesome people. So criticism can be given, but criticism is not always your opinion. It's not just your opinion. Like criticism of, oh, you're practicing witchcraft, so you're doing the devil's work and you're going to hell. That's not criticism. That is your opinion, and none of us know what is truly right and what is truly wrong and what, you know, is there in the afterlife. Like, we don't know. None of us can say 100% for sure what is going to happen to us in the next life. And as far as I'm concerned, I've not murdered anybody. I've not, you know, I've not done child molesting. Like, I haven't even stolen anything really, except for in 2nd grade. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm living the best life I can live. And as far as the rest of it goes, I guess we'll find out. But I hate it when I see content creators talking about just being absolutely bullied online for what they believe in. And it's not right. You know, you if you're such a good person and you're such a person of enlightenment or of God or of whatever you believe in, that kind of person would not be putting someone else down for their different belief, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. And then some community members that are reliable resources. Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's so many that I absolutely love. I love Hearth Witch. Oh my gosh, she is a world of knowledge. So if you don't know who Hearth Witch is, like, go check her out. She's amazing. Witch of Wonderlust, Miss Olivia, love her. She was the very first witchy channel I ever came in contact with, and she alone made me fall in love with witchcraft even more. Just her vibe, her aesthetic, like, it's just beautiful. It is so beautiful, and she brings this very sensual side to witchcraft, and she just she would probably just cringe right now if she heard me say these things, because she doesn't actually know me as a person, but I really admire her, and she just does 110% in everything that she puts out there. And yeah. And then, of course, Ivy the Occultist, she also kind of got me started as well. Just, I swear, you could literally bring up any topic and she'd have knowledge on it. And she's so just professional. Like, she just knows her shit. And she's incredibly open-minded, and she does lots of different kinds of magic because she's a chaos magician. And so she has a lot of knowledge in a lot of different areas. So you can learn a lot from her very quickly. Those are kind of my go-to ones that I'm subscribed to, I watch all the time. Not a witchy channel, but a channel that I really super enjoy, just because it's all things mysterious, all things that are untapped, and things that we don't understand, is the Y-Files. Like, highly recommend them. Funny as well, very funny, but also just talks about very in-depth, deep topics like aliens and different almost kind of conspiracy theories that exist in the world, and the truths of them and the lies of them, which is really cool that you see both aspects, because a lot of people just want to believe in the conspiracy theory, but they get upset when it gets debunked. But it's like, the Y-Files actually tells you the true facts of what they found out about these certain things, and then the things that have actually been debunked. So recommend that channel too. It's not a witchy channel, but they do talk about a lot of interesting in-depth topics. So, and I think that's kind of where I'm going to stop here, because my video is going to be like 2 hours long. So, thanks for spending some time with me. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so that I can continue to grow. And that sounds super selfish, but you know, that's part of the reason why you're on YouTube, not only to be creative and to share things, but you do eventually want to, you know, see some growth. That's just how it is. But I do appreciate you being here. I do appreciate you watching. As always, be kind, stay curious, and always speak your truth. And I will see you next time for another video. Bye.